Hey guys! First and foremost, I'm glad you're here, and I want to talk to you about COVID. This subject, of course, is something we're all influenced by. And before I go further, I do want to express that my prayers and thoughts go out to those affected by this. It is a terrible thing that has addressed not just our country, but the entire world. And we all understand that whether you have had COVID or if you are just maybe being isolated from a family member because of it, or your kids are at home, that there have been changes that have somehow impacted each and every one of us in some way. I just wanted to help shed some light through my personal experience. Um, my husband, son, and I have all had COVID, and I wanted to just kind of share with you guys what we went through and kind of the step by step where we live and some of the things that maybe you could expect or not expect. So, first of all, I'll talk to you about the more straightforward case. My husband started feeling pretty sick, and his mom is one of those more high risk people. So, we were supposed to go see her for Christmas or the week before to go celebrate with her. And we figured, you know what, just on the safe side, he had some symptoms that he felt like could potentially be COVID, like he was really congested and he had lower back aches. And let's see, what else did he have? I think the big kind of just red flag for him was that low grade fever. And that was the one that said, boy, let me just get a test just in case. And we went, and we have been COVID tested before since we do travel from time to time. Anytime we travel, we have decided to just go ahead and get a test, just at doing any way we can to help eliminate taking over state lines or anything like that. We just want to be really cautious and careful in any way we can. We don't typically travel more than a few hours from home, but just to be careful. And this time he did get that positive COVID test. He had immediately called me since that morning. I had just dropped off our son over with one of his grandparents, who also is in that higher risk age bracket. And he said, hey, I've got COVID. I'm going to get our child. I was working that day seeing kids for teletherapy. So my husband went to go get him, and he ended up watching him while I worked that day. Though I work from home, I still see clients, and they expect to have privacy and a controlled environment where we can help learn, because I'm a speech therapist. So we did make sure that that was separate. But that was our kind of just initial go at, wow, we have COVID. I want to explain first, I guess, just the shock. I know we went thinking there was a suspicion he may have had it, but then finding out that he did, I think we were just kind of taken back. Like I mentioned before, we've taken these tests a couple of times and negative responses before, and just kind of started thinking, well, all right, maybe we are those people that aren't going to get it. And we were just kind of shocked that he did have it, which is okay. But of course, like wife, mother, all of a sudden your head goes to the deepest, darkest places immediately. And I begin to just be concerned and worry. Over the next couple days or so, he just started to exhibit more and more signs. Like, I guess he shared at that point that days before that, he'd had some headaches, but he hadn't really thought much of it. But he started really overall thinking of all the puzzle pieces and trying to get a big overview of what was really going on. So he did have headaches. He figured it was just normal allergy season here since about Wednesday that week before. I had also had a couple headaches, but I wear a headset for work, and that's not uncommon. So I kind of just assumed myself that whatever, I've had a headache. Okay, no big deal. So he's got headaches, congestion, a low-grade fever, low back pain, and then about, I want to say day 5 or 6, he started having trouble sleeping and having difficulty breathing at night, which is really scary. Hearing your spouse just kind of toss and turn in that gasping sound, and you just start to be concerned about how they're laying and things you can do. He ended up talking to the doctors, and I'm not going to share his entire medical plan because I don't want anyone following our advice on treatment. I think it's very important that you do see a doctor. As soon as we got the test, I set up 2 appointments within the whole time span of him having COVID with his doctor for telehealth visits so that they could work on a treatment plan. And they explained that primarily they were going to target treating the symptoms. But if things were to worsen, like a breathing condition or things like that, that he was to go back to the doctors and possibly work on maybe even hospitalization. So it just depends on severity. I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction. So I'm not going to be giving any homeopathic or actual medical advice. I'm not a doctor and I will not be providing that. But I did just want to share symptoms and some things that really did seem to help us. The big thing for him was just he was exhausted. And my husband is one of those guys that when he's sick, like he's not that stereotypical, oh honey, I feel terrible, like sick man, sick husband. He is a tough, gritty, like doesn't show any sort of complaints or anything. And he was tired. My husband does not normally take off when he's sick or stay home and rest extra. And he rested for days. He worked from home, but for 2-3 days, I think he just slept. He went to bed at like 7:30 one night, or one night in particular, we were sitting on the couch watching a movie with our child, and we had tons of energy, by the way. I'll share our story as well. But he just kept falling asleep, and he slept from like 5 o'clock to 7:30. So after my son's movie was over, we decided to go downstairs, my son and I, into our gym and work out. And I work out with like big loud music and stuff. And my husband came downstairs about really like 8:15 or so to check on us. And, whoa, what's going on? Like, where have you been? And I told him we just came down here. He'd been asleep. And we have a beanbag chair in there. He sat in the beanbag chair with our 2 dogs in his lap, jumping wild, and our son jumping all over him and playing. And within like 5 minutes, he was asleep again with my loud music, our son in his lap and jumping, and the dogs going wild, fast asleep again. So just to give that like major exhaustion a better understanding with all the surroundings and environments of chaos, just fast asleep. So the best thing I can say for you is to rest, follow whatever regimen or medications that your doctor prescribes, see a doctor, and just really follow all those restrictions or guidelines. Then, of course, make sure that you notify everybody you need to notify so that they can also stay isolated and separated. Really important that you do let people know. You cannot just hide it. You need to stay home and share this information. In our case, I guess that our local health department has been so overwhelmed, we did not get a phone call. Most people around here that we've heard have had it, and other areas are reporting that they call them and tell them, put you on a list, and you are automatically to stay in. And in our case, we still have never heard from them. We have been out of quarantine since Christmas. So we were very fortunate. Christmas Day was our last day. So I guess about a week or so into my husband, maybe actually 10 or 11 days into my husband having COVID, I just really didn't have any signs or symptoms. We hadn't been tested for COVID yet because my son and I, we were already quarantining. So we were staying home. We felt like, what's the purpose of us getting tested? But then we started to just kind of rack our brains and think, I mean, Declan and I, just nothing. We hadn't really had anything, maybe a little congestion or a cold, but nothing major. And I did remember a couple weeks back, I came up the stairs, my husband, and he picked up our son. I'd been kind of just like really tired from work that day, but nothing that really felt like overly exhausted. And he comes up the stairs and grabs our son and goes to change him immediately. I mean, that's not really like him. He's helpful, but he's not one to just come in and be like, let me change the child. And he grabbed him and changed him. And I said, what's going on? Like, I would have changed him. Like, I don't understand. And he said, you don't smell that? I could smell that down the stairs. Like, his diaper was like insane, filled with poop. I didn't smell it at all. And then I realized, well, when I used my soap yesterday, like new soap, and smell it, my husband commented on the fact that it was really strong, not a bad way, but lavender and just obviously very a potent soap. And I didn't smell it even slightly. I kind of was like, that's okay. Not a big deal. Like, I mean, I could put it into my nostrils and not smell it. So I definitely lost my sense of smell a couple weeks before that and was a little tired, but nothing terribly that I noticed. And my son's energy level, spectacular. What's new? He's under 2 and he's a wild man. Like I said, a little snotty, but nothing crazy. All little kids go in snotty stages. So we did go and get the testing and found out that we had antibodies, that we had had COVID already. And we'd recently had a test in the beginning, or I guess the end of November, saying that we hadn't had COVID. So we know sometime between like the end of November to when my husband got it that we had to have it. So I was actually really thrilled to find out that you could have COVID and not even really know that you had it other than maybe a little bit of allergies. So one more terrible case my husband had during his time with COVID is a super rare thing. He ended up with this crazy rash all over his back, his neck, his legs, and then it started to go onto his face and his lips actually started to swell. Super rare. If this happens to you, definitely go see your doctor. There is treatment they can give you. Heck, they may even like give you an EpiPen if it goes to your lips. Like that's a big thing, a concern of potential not being able to breathe. So really be mindful, really watch this when you see this happen. Make sure to go ahead and talk to your doctors. But I just wanted to explain to you guys that it could be all different levels for whatever rhyme or reason. Genetics, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But totally different cases. My husband seemed to get just about everything, and my son and I were super minimal to nothing. And we encouraged some of our other family members to go ahead and get the antibody test and the COVID testing. His family, who we'd all been around, tested negative for both antibodies and COVID. So they didn't have it. It's been a couple weeks and they've retested, still don't have it. So they've been around us a lot with my little boy who's all in their face all the time and they didn't get it. So we don't know if they will or what the deal is, but we don't understand this entirely. And my mom and grandfather and grandmother all got tested as well for the antibodies and found out my grandmother and mom have had COVID. So again, it's just, I want to give you whatever information I have and explain that we don't know enough about this. And the best thing we can do is try to distance ourselves and be mindful of other people and their thoughts and feelings, and just be considerate about the fact that others may be going through worse things with this. So again, my thoughts and prayers go out to all of you, especially those of you affected, and I hope this helps you in some way. Bye.